Greetings, children, and welcome back as we're learning about how we got God's Word, the Bible. So we learned a lot about how in the early days of the human race, men did not have God's Word written down. It was given to them by God directly, and then perhaps they would tell their children and their children's children about the Lord from that. But it wasn't until Moses was instructed by God to write down what he said that we started to get the early form of the Bible. And that was in 5 books, often called the Law or the Torah. They are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And these 5 books were written by Moses, but as we've talked before, he was chosen by God to write down exactly what God wanted written down. He was inspired by God to write what God wanted him to do. And what he did was he would write it on scrolls, sort of like this one right here. And he would have to write it by hand. And so he did not have the printing press like I have today. And he did not have any other thing but his own hand. Now, if you look at the first 5 books of the Bible, you'll see a lot of words. It would have taken a long time and a lot of effort to write down. But Moses was obedient to God, and he wrote it down. But then you might wonder, was there only one copy of the Bible? What if it got lost? Well, no, there was more than one copy. You see, there were people called scribes. And what these people would do is that they would copy the Bible, word by word, very carefully, exactly as it was found, so that they could share the Bible with God's people, Israel, in the times of the Old Testament. And they had to be very careful, because if they were to write it wrongly, if they were to miss a sentence or two, they would actually be changing what God had said. But it's impossible to change what God said. So they would actually be doing it wrongly. This was a very big deal. So scribes had to be very careful in how they translated the Bible. So that is what they did. And that is how people had the Bible back then. It was a hard thing to do, but you better believe people were thankful for it, because all of us should be thankful for having God's Word. This is how God has chosen to speak to us. And though we may not have to have scribes today write it word for word, we can still be thankful for what God did through men like Moses, who originally wrote it down, and the scribes who copied him afterwards, that all people could have God's Word.